Weekend. He's involved in everything from the extension of the 710 freeway south through South Pasadena to the fight against the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Congressman Adam Schiff represents the Burbank, Glendale, and Pasadena area and is the ranking Democrat on House Intelligence. Thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Before we talk about what you've been discussing on Capitol Hill, let's talk locally. Just on Thursday, you had a news conference where you said you have a different proposal for extending the 710 freeway from the 10 to the 210. It doesn't involve a tunnel, which the Metropolitan Transit Authority is looking at. Explain that.
Well, a group of cities and communities throughout our region came together to develop an alternative to the freeway. For years and years, really for decades now, there's been this fight over the 710 freeway. First it was to finish it at grade. Now it's to build a tunnel underneath these communities. And people want to come together and look at other solutions. Can we move people in a better way? Is it always all about building more freeways? And the conclusion is, for far less than the cost of a tunnel, you can build more light rail, you can have dedicated bus rays, you can build parks, you can build bikeways, you can get people out of their vehicles, you can improve air quality, reduce congestion, and do it in a way that the communities can embrace, rather than this project that has so long divided the region.
So it's not one solution, it's a whole bunch of different solutions.
Absolutely, and the goal is really to look at each of the communities along the route that have been impacted and figure out, how do we mitigate these problems? How can we do things that they can all embrace, that are a win-win? Because I think we all recognize that the minute this freeway is built, if it were ever to be built, it'll be filled to capacity. And that's not really much of a transportation solution.
Well, the city of Alhambra, which is not in your district, they feel differently. They're very upset. The Vice Mayor, Barbara Messina, says to disrupt this process, that is the environmental review process on the tunnel, which is they've had hundreds of hearings on, she says is, quote, unconscionable and disrespectful to the hundreds of residents that have participated in the process throughout the years. This is all politics. We can thank Congressman Adam Schiff for this. Respond.
Look, I've known Barbara for a long time, and she's been a dedicated freeway proponent for probably 40 or more years. And I think it's very hard for people that have been in the fight that long to step back and say, okay, is there another way? Should we fight this fight another 40 years, or is there a better alternative? And the reality is, there is a better alternative. What made sense in the 50s during the Eisenhower administration when this was proposed is not something that makes sense today. People want different solutions to transportation and air quality problems. They want opportunities to get out of the car. The Gold Line light rail is filled now with people, often filled to capacity. People will embrace those opportunities if they're made accessible. And I think that's a far better answer for our region. But I will say this, I think Barbara has a real concern. The people of Alhambra have a real concern that has to be addressed. And part of what we're trying to do in this package is have something that we can offer to Alhambra and say, this will improve the quality of life in Alhambra.
If the MTA went ahead with the tunnel, would you do what you could in Congress to keep them from getting any federal aid for that project?
I will. I don't think it's the right answer. And I started out, had an open mind on the tunnel. I helped actually do some of the feasibility work to determine, is this possibly the answer, that the long struggle over the freeway, maybe the common ground is underground. But the reality is that the costs now are many times in excess of what Metro thought they would be. It's really cost prohibitive, and we have an alternative. We can continue this fight indefinitely, and it's never going to happen, or we can look at things that are immediate, that can bring relief, that can add to the quality of life in the region.
Street widening, light rail.
Street widening, light rail, more innovative goods movement, getting people out of the cars, more parks, more bikeways, getting people to Cal State LA in a better way than clogging up the arteries and surface streets.
Let's move on very quickly. We have a few minutes left. You're opposed to extending the Patriot Act, now being debated in the Senate, ending up in the House. As the ranking Democrat on House Intelligence, why not extend the Patriot Act?
Well, I'm opposed to extending the bulk collection of data. I do favor that we make a reform of Section 215 of the Patriot Act, so I don't favor letting it expire. I'd rather reform these authorities so that